Are we live?
I think so.
Are we good?
I
Are we
can't
good?
tell.
Do we? Are
Maybe.
we? Are,
I'm not sure.
full disclosure, Nicholas. I got to be honest with you. I am
Oh,
fried. I am fried. I am overcooked, and I am looking forward to the program tonight. But I'm also very much looking forward to having a week off. Um, I'm mentally drained, my friend. And this program, your beautiful face, are the only things keeping me going, keeping me thriving at the moment. So thank you
glad
for
to
that.
hear that part at least. But yes, you're getting 2 weeks off, if I'm not mistaken, from the show.
Yes, 2 weeks off from the show, and that's only because we're not getting back until late Tuesday night, so uh I couldn't cram it in. But a full week off.
Hmm.
I
Right, right,
will
right, right,
be
right.
I will be in parts unknown
Mhm.
near Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Parts unknown, but here's exactly where I'm going to be.
Exactly. And it's funny, Nicholas, because I don't dance with tequila, and I'll be in tequila country. So,
Mm.
yay for me! But they've got tacos and they've got hot sauce, and
Say it
ice
like that when you
cream.
order it.
I will do.
Hot
I'll tell you
sauce.
what. I had tacos tonight, Nicholas. So, a New Hampshire, farm, I believe, Lucerne. You go to the grocery store, you're going to find Lucerne cheeses, Lucerne milk, cream, all that stuff. They have a shredded cheese, a Carolina Reaper
Mm, mm.
shredded cheese.
Oh boy.
So a lot of times you buy this stuff, and like Popeyes right now has a collaboration with Hot Ones. Like Popeyes spicy chicken has got some good heat to it, but a lot of times, like Wendy's is doing as well. They do it. It's more advertisement than anything.
Mhm.
It's all sizzle, steak sort of thing, right? So it can be very underwhelming. So
Mm.
like you just don't know how these gimmicky things are going to go. I'll tell you what, this cheese necklace, real deal,
Wow. Okay.
real heat to that son bitch.
Carolina Reaper.
Really,
Yeah, you're asking
hell yeah.
for it.
It's like 2 million Scoville units, baby.
Is it? When
Oh
did we
yeah.
start measuring heat units? You're not the first person I've ever heard say that, but I'm just like, I never heard of it till like, I don't know. Is it Hot Ones that did it? Is that what started the trend?
Well, I mean that's what made it. Scoville units have been around for a very, very long time.
Okay.
There's an old restaurant. It's not there anymore. It used to be in Inman Square, Cambridge, Somerville line. That used to have. They were known for their Hell Nights.
Oh,
And that goes back 15, 20, 25 years.
okay.
But yeah, no, they've been measuring heat for a while, Nicholas. Come on, get with the program. Get with the
I know. I'm
program,
aware of
ladies and
Fahrenheit.
gentlemen. Oh, pipe it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, TLDR Studios proudly presents you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, and don't you dare interrupt me again, Nicholas, podcasting team in the world. He is your everyday comic book writer, Nick Fryer. I am your feisty, spicy, back-cracking Dr. Joe, and together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. That's what Carolina Reapers do to me, Nicholas. They make me
Wow.
spicy.
Look at that. Look at that. That was a very, very nice intro and a lot of improvisation there. I'm impressed with that, sir. We got a lot going on today. We got one more mainline episode before Doc goes to Parts Unknown. But that said, as much as we both have to take off some time here and there to travel, do some other stuff, what have you, we pride ourselves on making sure that you always have at least one episode in some way, shape, or form, even though we're not around while that's going to be live. So, with that being the case, I can confirm that we have one episode that's already in the books, and we'll tell you guys who that is. And then I got another recording that I'm supposed to be doing later in the week. I'm not going to say who, because obviously we don't jinx things on the show, because we've done that a couple times, and we don't want that to happen again. But if that falls through, I will have something else for you guys without question. But the Friar Side chat that we have coming up for the week of the 23rd is going to be the writer of Cable Love and Chrome, because that trade is coming out the week after this mainline episode is dropping. That is one David Pepos. And I mean, that's one book. that we talked to him about. We spent a lot of time on that because that is dropping in trade form right around the time that obviously the week of that interview is dropping. But Joe, we also, it's spooky season coming up, so we talked a ton with him about The Devil That Wears My Face, which you have
Oh,
finally read. We talked a little bit about Captain Planet, which we'll talk about today and have been raving about. Speed Racer a little bit, Space Ghost a little bit. Honestly, we didn't have enough time to dig into everything in the manner that we wanted to, quite frankly. I'm just going to tell you all that right now. We'll talk with him again at some point again down the line, but we needed to devote some time to The Devil That Wears My Face because we are all about horror books on this show. Spooky season is pretty much here. And also, it's a book that I kind of have been waiting to hear Joe talk about a little bit, and you finally got to, because also Alex Cormack's the artist on that series.
yeah, that was one of the most terrific horror books I've read in some time, and it's up there as an all timer. There's a couple of horror books that we're going to talk about today, Nicholas, that are some potential all timers. One of which I can confirm, Nicholas, will be the first ever floppy winner on my half.
Oh,
I
wow.
won't tell you which one, but one of there are two spooky books we're discussing today. One of which think have decided is my winner.
Okay. I think
And
I know which one it is, based on we've talked about it previously.
but yeah, this is we've talked about it. It's a Horrorissance, Plassanaissance. It's been a great year for horror books, and
Terrorific time. That's what it is.
ooh, nice.
Thank you.
So, but that was The Devil That Wears My Face. Really was outstanding, and I think it is in large part to Alex Cormack's art, because it's just he's a terrifying bastard.
100%. And for people who are X-Men fans who like Cable in some capacity, maybe, hey, I haven't read a whole lot of Cable before. Cable Love and Chrome is a great series to just go pick up, as long as you just know who Cable is and have a general idea. And even then, David does a great job of making sure that you're all set. And Mike Henderson's art in the series, the way he handles the technovirus and everything, it's outstanding. Had a great time talking with David Pepos about all his work. Really appreciate the detail that he provides in some of the decisions that he made and all the work that he's doing. Also, want to note, while we're going to be not doing what's new over the next couple of weeks, because normally when we have a Fireside Chat, we have what's new associated with that. Make sure you're following us on either Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, or all three, whatever tickles your fancy. Because I will still be doing reviews over there. I won't be doing a solo thing on here because I just feel weird about doing that kind of stuff, but we'll be doing quick hit videos for Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So make sure you follow us on one of those for our reviews while we're not doing what's new over the next couple of weeks. But also, we always have those dropping over on those channels, as well as Twitter and Blue Sky. We put in preview pages there as well. So if you guys want an early look, if you haven't gone to your local comic shop even by Wednesday, we'll sprinkle in stuff throughout the course of the week. So you're going to have all that available. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. It helps the show out a ton. Tell a fellow comic book reader about the show. All right, Joe, we got some stuff to get into, but you did want to get to a little bit of catching up.
Yeah, real quick, I just added this in there. I read the TMNT Shredder book written by Dan Waters.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. TMNT's IDW is killing with TMT books right now. I mean, there are a smorgasbord, a cornucopia of Turtles book, but the new sort of reset mainline by
Jason Aaron.
Thank you, Jason Aaron, has been excellent. And so Dan Waters tackling a Shredder was really something else. I highly recommend that book for any Turtle fans. And I believe we're getting another TMNT book, Casey Jones, this week as well. So keep your eyes out on that. But I read that. I enjoyed it. It is not necessarily a children's book.
Nope. I don't think you can necessarily say that. I'm very curious about how.
Did you read it?
I did.
Did you read
yeah,
Shredder?
I did. I actually, on that, I read it. I think I got it. I picked it up the week. So we haven't been getting those review copies for.
Yeah, I picked it up too. I just didn't get around to it till
I honestly that, and then Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees Volume 2. I forget what the subtitle is for it, but I read both of those issues as well.
I've got to read both. They're sitting right there. I would tell you, I've got a bunch of hours on a plane, Nicholas.
Yes,
I might hit 1,000 by the time I get back.
Well,
I'm already where I should be at by the end of October. So
there you go. Nice. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, you're You're gonna be pumped. You're gonna be like, oh, I should have waited till issue 3 came out so I could read more at once.
Oh,
With Beneath the Trees, it's so good. It's
I've
great
thought
stuff.
about doing that, to be honest with you, but like I've been dying to read it. I've been dying to read it. So
Yeah,
anywho,
yeah, you're yeah. I don't want to say too much more, but definitely there's so many good comics going on right now, and we got at least 6 that we want to dig into in some depth today before we get to the trades that we want to, or collected editions that we want to talk about before Joe goes on his vacation. Why don't you kick us off with Marvel, sir?
So from Marvel Comics, for New Comic Book Day 9/17, the year of our year 2025, we have the Ultimates issue 16, Uncanny X-Men issue 21,
Hell yeah!
The Amazing Spider-Man issue 12, Ultimate Black Panther issue 20, Fantastic Four issue 3, Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 38, Magic issue 10, The Incredible Hulk issue 29, Phoenix issue 15, Deadpool Wolverine issue 9, The New Avengers issue 4, Predator Kills the Marvel Universe issue 2 by Benjamin Percy Nicholas. Drink it in, savor it, fucking read it already. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
I have to. We've talked about this. I want to. I know you talked about, because you talked about Spider-Man versus Predator on the show. I don't need to read that to read Predator Kills Marvel Universe. But like you said, when you're going to be in Parts Unknown, I'm also going to take some extra time to make sure I'm reading that, and I need to read Ultimate Spider-Man. And real quick before you continue, Joe, I have to mention, you mentioned Fantastic Four issue 3. I finally saw the movie, and it was very, very good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
I want to see it. I still haven't seen that or Superman. But I am really excited to see Fantastic Four. So
I think I think Dork and Mac and Goo both have Johnny Storm. Like if you were to rank in the movie who were the best characters, I think they both have Johnny Storm like at the bottom of their power rankings, and I tend to agree. Like, and I think if that's the case, you're doing something right, generally speaking.
So what did you haven't read Life Story?
No, but I'm painfully, and I'm going to go read it, but I'm painfully aware of how you spoke about it. Like it was so helpful, and it made me optimistic, and also made me understand why they'd want to cast Pedro Pascal in the role. And I think you're going to see the influences with him there.
Well, what I'm saying is that Johnny Storm was so well written in that series, right? And so I know nothing about the movie. I haven't read any reviews. I haven't watched any clips. Right. I haven't listened to any podcasts about it. So like I tend to agree that like Johnny Storm out of the 4 of them should be the sidekick. Right. It's you know, when you think of Fantastic Four, it is Reed Richards. It is, you know, it is the Thing. It is Sue. And then Johnny Storm should sort of be like Jack Black has reached a point now where he's gone full Jack Black and he is what he is. But back in the day, Jack Black was always best as the sidekick, like in High Fidelity, right? Like you don't want too much Jack Black. You want just enough, right? That's sort of how I feel about Johnny Storm. You should not have too much Johnny Storm. It should be just enough. But after reading Life Story and the emotional, you know, sort of gravitas he brought to that story as an extraordinarily flawed character, that is like something that I was kind of hoping for. It doesn't sound like we really get.
You get emotional stuff with him that I liked.
Okay.
I think he was like a solid B, maybe BB minus, but like comfortably there. I just think that Invisible Woman Sue Storm was outstanding. She was the best.
Great
of the
actress.
4.
Great actress. Great choice for that.
I think that Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, especially with what we've talked about previously with the Life Story influence, with what you've told me, I think like that road could be like he's going to deal with like similar stuff. It's very present there. I really liked what they did with him, and then I thought the Thing was outstanding. I'm blanking on the guy's name, the guy from The Bear, but like he was awesome. Like that, I feel like the Thing has been. I never saw the Miles Teller version of it, Michael B. Jordan version, but the original one, like I don't know. I didn't think Michael Chiklis's was bad, but I don't know. I always like I'm prone to liking the Thing. I think Johnny Storm's great for the kids. The Thing's probably my favorite of the Fantastic Four. But like those three were all A minus range for sure. But like yeah, when you watch it, you're gonna be like, holy shit! Like Vanessa Kirby absolutely rocked out in this role.
Yeah. That was a great choice there. So we have Star Wars, issue 5, Runaways, issue 4, Uncle Scrooge, Earth's Mightiest Duck, issue 2, Marvel Zombies, Red Band, issue 1, Star Wars, Boba Fett, Black, White, and Blood, issue 1, and then I think maybe the most anticipated book of the week, Nicholas, is one that you'd like to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. This is written by Zeb Wells with art by none other than Greg Capullo, and that is Deadpool and Batman issue 1. Now, I believe the way it was announced, we're going to get a Batman Deadpool title in like October, maybe November, something like that. We're going to get it at a later date. That's going to be DC's version of that, and that will be by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. Very excited to check that one out. As for this issue, I loved the approach to this. I was... The comedy in this was top notch. I cannot believe how Batman's wit was like how it paired with Deadpool's madness. I did not expect that going in. You and I had talked about it, like how this was quite the pair. I was like, well, there's something to be done here for sure. But I very much underestimated how good Batman and Deadpool are going to be. And you guys will see it as it goes along as the other characters that incorporated. Once I started seeing that in the mix, I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is an awesome concept. So I don't want to get into the detail too much, but you mix in some other characters throughout the story. In Batman, I felt like Deadpool was good. I felt like Batman shined in this issue, as much as this is more of the Marvel's side of this crossover.
I felt like Batman in this story. And I think I've come to the realization.
That's it.
That's the review. I think I've come to the realization, Nicholas, I'm not a Deadpool guy. He annoys the shit out of me, and I know that that's the purpose of the character. But like I said, I feel like Bruce. I feel like Batman in the story. Yeah, because Zeb Wells did a great job of portraying that, and I thought it was well written, and I loved the dynamic that he took with the story. I just think I don't like reading Deadpool.
Yeah,
I much prefer him in the cinematic. Right, I want to, and he's another example of a character that I want. Less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I understand that
because he's an over the top character, right? But if you give me over the top for 2.5 hours, I've had enough. Right?
Yep.
And so I sympathize with Bruce Wayne and Batman in this story. It was actually, it just wasn't. This book wasn't for me, and I think this is part of my misgivings when it was first announced. Like, oh, we're getting the DC, Marvel crossover. I don't fucking want Deadpool. That's exactly how I felt. But I did try to go into this with with an open mind and everything. And like I said, it didn't have anything to do with the writing. Obviously, didn't have anything to do with the art because Capullo's art is fantastic. I just don't care for Deadpool, and I think that's the honest admission I have to make here.
Yeah, and I respect that, and also like if you guys aren't Deadpool fans, I think it's very fair to to be like, yeah, I'm not necessarily going to pick this one up because there's a lot of Deadpool, and for lack of a better term, Deadpool does Deadpool things in this issue.
Yes.
There's no two ways about it. That said, if you're like, Batman and Deadpool, I don't know necessarily, because if you're not a Batman guy, it's the same kind of deal. There is more. There are more crossovers in this oversized issue. We got Captain America and Wonder Woman, Jeff and Crypto, Daredevil and Green Arrow, Rocket Raccoon and Green Lantern. That one slipped past me. I did not realize that was going to be one that was coming out. And Al Ewing is writing that
I was
story.
gonna say that's Al Ewing, right? Yeah.
Yes, it is. And then we got Old Man Logan and Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. Yes, Frank Miller is writing that one and drawing that one. And then we also got presenting Logo, which is written by Ryan North with art by Ryan Stegman. So there's a lot to like in this. Chip Zdarsky's doing the Captain America Wonder Woman story with art by Terry Dodson. Of course, Kelly Thompson's doing the Jeff story. Kevin Smith is writing Daredevil and Green Lantern with art by Adam Kubert. So there's a lot in this issue that's worth checking out. Even if you're not a big Deadpool and Batman guy, there's a lot of different stuff. And obviously we got more to come. I know we've at least heard about Scott, Joshua Williamson, and James Tynion the Fourth, which is 3 writers on the series, but whatever. They're all going to be doing Constantine and Doctor Strange. So very excited to see what comes from that. But yes, definitely a fun time to be a comic book fan. Speaking of DC, Joe, actually, no, we got to go to DC later. My apologies. That's my mistake. I got ahead of myself there. Pulled the anti-Ron Burgundy. We got Image and Skybound. Of course, from Skybound, we got Invincible Universe, Battle Beast, The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 121, Ghost Pepper issue 3, and then from non-Skybound Image titles, we got The Seasons, I Hate Fairyland issue 44. I've talked about that series a ton. Absolutely love it, Joe. Honestly, when you talk about like binging stuff while you're away, get that on your. They have the like larger collected editions available on Hoopla. You should do that while you're traveling with I Hate Fairyland for sure. The Deadly Tales of Gunslinger Spawn issue 9. This Ends Tonight issue 3. Witchblade issue 14. The Curse of Shirley Johnson issue 3. Bloodletter issue 4. The Cold Witch: A Tale of the Shrouded College issue 5. Dark Honor issue 5. Creepshow issue 1, No Man's Land issue 1, and then another Skybound title, Good as Dead issue 1, which leaves us with one other Image title that you wanted to break down that we are both reading.
Did you read it?
Oh yeah,
what
an insane issue with a beautiful ending. My God,
this is always one of my first. Whenever this is out, it's one of the first books I read.
100%.
And man, like this was Tynion Belair and Michael Walsh, on art. And this was a wild issue. Like, I mean, it's been a wild series, but this one in particular, like, I love how sort of each issue, the one-upsmanship, right, that you get between, like, they're supposed to like go as like last serial killer or last killer surviving sort of thing, but they're also like there to terrorize the friggin' town too. And what I love, and this was also utilized in another book, this week, was the use of booby traps. Right, this entire town is one giant effing booby trap, and so you've got these maniacs just running around. You have these innocent people trying to figure shit out and trying to, and at the same time, like you just have these these killers just fucking around with each other. And when I say there's no love lost, there is no love lost. And there is a death sequence that happens that I just absolutely loved. Like, this has been one of the most fun, horrific horror stories I have ever read, and I'm here for every second of it. I wish this book was weekly. I wish this series was a TV show. I want to consume exquisite corpses. That sounds weird phrasing, in all shapes and forms. I need more of it in my life. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we're seeing, we haven't seen them yet, but we know that a few James Tynion the Fourth titles are getting adapted into shows, movies, other mediums. This is absolutely one that I could see being a movie, but it should absolutely be a show. Like there's no question about it. And there's so much opportunity here too, because like we have this one story that's going on over these 12 issues for this one game, this one round of game, but like you could do it again and again and again because it happens every so often. So like you could go way back, like to the start of it, you can go somewhere in the middle. It's just riddled with opportunities. But as for this issue, you mentioned it, like there are some deaths in this issue that are just like, there was one that was just this needed to happen. It absolutely needed to happen. It was some would say it was overdue. But yeah, I really
Oh
enjoyed it.
yeah. That
Yep.
one
Yep.
was excellent.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome series. And I agree with you. With right to the top of my pull list. I mean, my stack, I should say.
Nah, 100%.
Every time we get those. But yeah. All right. Moving on. What do we got from Boom?
From Boom. So I've had quite the conundrum with Boom. We have the Expense, a little death issue 1. We have the Killer Affairs of the State 2 issue 4. Now, we got the first 2 review copies. We didn't get the 3rd review copy, but Nicholas, I swear to God, I effing read it. But it's not in my Kindle account, and I couldn't find my physical copy. But I know I effing read it because I went back to issue 2. It's like, oh, maybe I read issue 2 thinking I read issue 3. No, I read issue 3. I just don't know where I put the physical copy of it because there was vivid details that I remember. So I haven't read issue 4 yet. But it's driving me nuts because I was going to go buy it digitally. So it's just in case I didn't read it, and I can't find it. It's driving me bonkers. But anyways, there's another book that dropped from Boom this week from our good friends Parker and Sheridan. I didn't say their first names because I would have gotten them backwards like you did, and I didn't want to sound like an idiot.
What an idiot.
Blink and You'll Miss It, issue 2.
Yeah, big week for Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan, of course, friends of the show, because they also had Marvel Zombies Red Band issue 1 come out this week, which was very much an action-packed issue. Big Fantastic Four issue and Spider-Man 2. But Blink and You'll Miss It, issue 2 is a series that they're doing with Boom. Keith Browning is the artist on this series. And after spending the first issue getting to know Jesse, we spent a lot more time with Melody, her friend, that we also met in the first issue. This is a super trippy issue. We get an idea of what the character is going through. And also at the same time, we have a massive amount of world building in this issue. If it wasn't already clear the first go around, you kind of get the sense as the story goes along, but really big time at the end of the first issue, like Perennial Harbor is a messed up place. If that wasn't clear in the first issue, it was abundantly clear by the end of the second issue. There are so many moving pieces. I can't wait. I feel like these next few issues, things are just going to take off because we get to know the main character. We get to know the secondary character in the second issue. We get the idea of like the whole lay of the land and all the moving pieces. And now it's just like, what the fuck is going on? It's time to unravel everything. So more awesome stuff from Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan. See, got it right.
Yeah, we did. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. Yeah, this issue was absolutely crackers. Absolutely crackers. I had to, I had to go back and sort of reread things, not because it was confusing or anything, but like there was just so much to take in. I didn't want to miss anything. So that was excellent stuff.
Definitely get that feeling. I had that a couple times here and there moving along. From Dark Horse, we only got one thing out this week, but it is notable. Magic the Gathering, Untold Stories, Elspeth issue 1. You check this out.
I did. Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. Dan Waters, written by Dan Waters. The book I'm going to talk about later really put me in a fantasy mood. So reading this was a no-brainer for me.
Nice.
Wanted to make sure I got to it. And if you've read other Magic titles, or if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, you're in that world. It's a great world to be in. And again, this was a fairly twisted issue as well.
Well, the big thing here for me is Magic the Gathering was over at Boom previously. Jed McKay actually wrote that series.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So when I saw this, I was like, wait a second, what? Yeah, I read that series and then I fell off after a bit of time. I don't remember exactly why, but I need to go back and check that out because I was like having a good time. I need to give that another go. But I was stunned when I saw this. I missed news that Magic the Gathering moved over to Dark Horse. Sorry, Dark Horse.
Yeah, Dark Horse. I feel like you're only here for the zip line, Nicholas.
Yep. Really? I forget what else he says in that skit.
He says something in that, like, doesn't he say like Carlos said your sister's a hoe or something like that? Like
that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah,
it's fucking kill. Such a just. Anyways, this is.
I gotta watch Friendship. So.
Yeah, same here. That's for our movie podcast show. We'll do that.
Yeah,
we'll do that some other time. What do we have for Mad Cave? What a week from Mad Cave, Nicholas.
Oh my goodness! Dick Tracy issue 12. Whatever happened to the Crimson Justice issue 4? Flo issue 1. Orla issue 2. What?
How was Flow? Did you read Flow?
Flow was good. Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I wouldn't say it knocked my socks off, but I
Okay.
also would say the part that you were like bothered by, it's like a quick fleeting thing, and then it's all just about like using that occurrence and not hit like it wasn't like hammered over your head with that. It's just that occurrence, and then it like causes this ripple effect that this girl gets like bothered by these kids throughout the entire issue. So it was
Gotcha.
sad in a way, but it was solid. I wouldn't say it was like holy shit. Like Mad Cave is just absolutely crushing. I mean,
Hmm.
every one of these titles, I'm behind on Dick Tracy, but I'm not that far behind. But like every one of these books, you and I are reading. So it's like there's a
Hmm.
set. We have two books that we wanted to discuss. One, but actually, both of them ended this week, right? With issue 5,
Yes. So let me go first,
please.
Nicholas. So, and I'm not gonna. I'm saying this now. The two books I alluded to earlier come from Mad Cave. I'm not gonna give away which one is which because I love both of these books so incredibly much. I didn't get a chance to read Buried long ago yet, so I want to discuss The Slash's Apprentice, issue 5, written by Justin Richards with art by Val Halverson. And I mean, I've raved about this book from the get go. And had we gotten our review copies by like Friday or Saturday, this would have been the book that I would have discussed this week. That's how bad I need to talk about it, Nicholas, so that you can read it,
Nice.
because there's a reason why this and Buried long ago are really are my two front runners, or have been my two front runners, for our first floppy ever for best new horror series. One of these two titles being the winner. Um, but this book is, the difference between this and Buried long ago, right, is, you know, they're both incredibly well written. They're both incredibly and beautifully drawn, right? Alex Cormack, he is in a stratosphere all of his own. But Val Halverson's art, right? It's cleaner, it's brighter, it's more refined, right?
Mhm.
But that doesn't take away from the terror that you get in this series, right? And the twist that you get, right? The turn that this story takes, the violence that you've gotten that's just sort of built each and every issue, like, is just unrivaled, Nicholas. This book could not only win best new horror series, but best new series, right? Most surprising series. I could have this as a multiple floppy winner. It's that good, right? Because it kind of hits all those different categories. So I can't wait to discuss it, especially this the way this issue ended, right? And it leaves the door open, right?
Ooh.
So like,
Yes,
read it, people, so that like Mad K goes, yep, here, have a second volume, go,
nice.
because the directions that you could take are infinite, and this is, I think, what Mad Cave has really done better than anyone else, is they give you these 4 or 5, it's what AWA did for such a long time, right? They have this ability to tell you a great story in 5 issues and have the pacing of it feel perfect, leaves you wanting more, which is a good thing. And if you get it, great. If not, you what you've been given is a really great story. So The Slasher's Apprentice is one of the best horror stories I have read, not just this year, but in a long time. And it's I'm assuming, right, we'll get to mainline issue 117 before the year is over.
Hmm.
It will be the next book I discuss. It's that damn good. You've got to read it. This is such a Nicholas Fryer book. It's not even funny.
Nice. Yeah, we should be able to get hopefully a couple spooky books in. We do have hopefully one other Fireside chat that will be coming around when Joe returns. But outside of that, we don't have anything, so we can honestly just not try and schedule anything. But who the hell knows? People sometimes ask us, and they're like, "Oh, we can't say no." So, but yes, we definitely should at least have one horror episode, a mainline episode in October. I'm excited to hear you talk about it more because from wire to wire, to further your point about how you like this might be the first like multi floppy award winner in a given year. There is not a book that you've spoke. I can't remember the last time you spoke about a book where it's like every single issue was absolutely perfect. You needed to talk about it in some capacity. Like this is like never, not just horror, just all comics. And like obviously there are plenty of series that we really like and that hit us in a special way, but I don't know, man. Like it really feels like this one's like an all-timer for you in general.
It's excellent. It's excellent, Nicholas. I can't talk about it enough. It really is.
Maybe your favorite Mad Cave title ever?
Oh, I don't know about that, but it's up there. I mean, this you don't put that on me now, Nicholas.
Okay, yeah, it's a conversation for another day for sure. Yeah, so
Right.
I apologize.
Let's put it this way. My next favorite Mad Cave book is whatever Mad Cave sends me in the mail next.
Did you read Racer X yet?
No,
Okay.
there's still a bunch of books from last week I haven't read.
I'm fucking making your reading list while you're away. I'm going to tell you all the things you need to.
It's on there, and I caught up with a bunch of books I didn't get to
Good.
last week.
Good.
I just didn't get to. That was one of the last few I didn't get to yet.
You're gonna like that one for sure. Another one that you're gonna like for sure when you finally get a chance to check it out is Buried. Long ago, issue 5, of course. Friend of the show, Anthony Cleveland and Alex Cormack. The final issue of this series, and it was another Mad Cave book that is outstanding from start to finish. Definitively a must-read for horror fans. If you have been trade waiting for this series, this is a trade that you are going to absolutely inhale the second you open the first page. It is nonstop, wire to wire, moves. It in a way it moves at a breakneck pace, but there are times where it stops and pauses for a second and allows you to catch your breath, and then boom, it gets going again. And for this issue in particular, the final issue, you get the ending that this story deserves. It is action-packed. It is explosive. Alex Cormack has done a lot of impressive artwork throughout this series, as he's, one to do, of course. But this might be the best action that he's delivered yet. And that's not just saying a lot for this series. It's just all his stuff that he's done. We are huge fans of his work, but my goodness, this may be the one. This is at least the top 5 Alex Cormack issue, if nothing else. So Buried long ago, horror fans, another must-read series for you. All right, moving over to. Oh, you're muted.
Oh,
I was wondering why I couldn't hear you.
I wanted to get to that issue. I just ran out of friggin' time. I'm going to read that. Well, maybe I'll read it tomorrow when it's daylight out.
Yeah. I will take us through Oni real quick. I just want to lightly touch on one thing. Catacomb of Torment issue 3, Cemetery Kids Run Rabid issue 2, and then we got Wild West COW Boys of Moo Mesa issue 1. So I'm like, obviously we're like, what is this? This is another nostalgia type comic that's coming out based on action figures from the 80s. Do you recall this at all? Okay.
No.
I saw this and I was like, I'm going to check it out because we get the Oni review copies and just try and mix things up. And I was like, oh, okay. I was surprised. I was like, this was better than I expected it to be. I'm not going to say it's something that knocked my socks off necessarily, but if you're like, I might check it out. If you like Westerns, you want to mess around, you want a little nostalgia stuff, whatever. Yeah, then check it out. That I can't go and give more praise than that necessarily, but I might check out the second issue. That's how I feel about it at this stage. But we also get the review copies, so there's a little bit of a luxury that we have. Moving on. Yes. What do you got for me on these next few?
Okay, so from AWA Studios, we have They Chose Violence issue 4. From IDW, we have Godzilla Escape the Dead Zone issue 2, which is also our boys, Griffin Sheridan and Ethan Parker. We have, right? I have that correct, right? Yeah. I wanted to make sure I wanted to actually make sure they wrote the book, and I didn't attribute them to the wrong book.
Yeah, fair.
We have Monster High House Hunters issue 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones issue 1, Street Sharks issue 1.
Very excited to check this out too. I wish we had the review copies. Street Sharks I was a big fan of as a kid.
My Little Pony, The Sweetest Collection issue 1. From Titan, we have Blade Runner, Black Lotus, Las Vegas issue 1. And from Dynamite, we have DuckTales issue 7, The Herculoids issue 8, Vampirilla Armageddon issue 3, and then we have Captain Planet and the Planeteers issue 5, written by David Pepos with art by Aman Casalos.
Dude, the most badass issue yet, without question. My goodness. I'm kind of pissed that we didn't get to talk to David about this one too,
I know.
because it's like we're raving about these certain characters. I've expressed how the 4th issue of Captain Planet was huge for Matai, a character who we both talked about. Like as kids, we didn't care about him necessarily as much. His power wasn't as cool as everybody else's, but that was a huge issue for him. This was also a good issue for him. Like he had some cool moments, made Wheeler look kind of stupid a little bit at times, but I think the character deserves that in some ways. Massive issue for Kwame. He went up in my book big time, dude. Holy crap.
Yeah, way better than Kwame Brown. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, definitively better than Kwame Brown. And also, I think this was a big issue for Link Up. My favorite issue for her so far. Gee's had some great issues too. Wheeler's the only one, but also like he's kind of a jerk. Like he is fitting the role perfectly. But if you were ranking the Planeteers right now, he's definitively number 5 through these first 5 issues.
Oh, the worst. No, this issue was excellent. It was action packed. I mean, huge issue for Kwame. I mean, it was like right. What we get to is we get like just a little subtle origin, right, of Kwame without it like getting bogged down or having like like no, it was perfect, and it was the most action packed issue we've had.
Yes,
the greatest stakes we have had
yeah
so far, and we saw this character debuted in the last issue, but we really saw him in full force, and that was what Captain Pollution, right?
Yes, sure.
I can say that that's not a spoiler because he was introduced last issue. So yeah, right. So excellent.
Absolutely. And then moving over to DC before we get into the books we want to break down, we got Absolute Flash issue 7, Nightwing issue 130, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 43, Wonder Woman issue 25, Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 11, Titans issue 27, The New Gods issue 10, New History of the DC Universe issue 3, Catwoman issue 79. Again, low key, just like absolute fucking 479 issues is no joke. I don't care what publisher you're at in this day and age. Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton issue 4, Joe's favorite book, Justice League Red issue 2, and the Bat-Man: Second Night issue 1.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to the book that Joe wants to break down this week. What do you got for me, my friend?
So we chatted up Philip Kennedy Johnson when he was at Boston Fan Expo, back in August, and we've talked Crocodile Black, on the show, and so I went through on Hoopla and just started looking. It's like Philip Kennedy Johnson's been writing books for a while, but I'm only just getting familiar with his stuff over the past 1 to 2 years, right? And so he's had a good run, for a long time now. So I'm boning up on some of his previous titles, and so I was really wanted to do Slasher's Apprentice, but I'm going through and I'm like, okay, if we don't get it in time, I need to have a backup plan. And so I texted you, have you read this book? You said no. I said, okay, I'm going for it, and that is The Last God. This is book 1 of the Fellspire Chronicles, and this is from DC Black Label. I wasn't expecting this to be from DC Black Label. This to me has all the vibes of an Image book, but and I should have written down. I think this was like 2020, 2021, somewhere in that time. Written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Riccardo Federici, colors by Sonny Go and Dean White, with letters by Tom Napolitano. And I don't say this lightly, Nicholas. And this is not with any sort of hyperbole or any sort of recency bias, because I just read it. This is said like this is one of the best fantasy stories I have read.
Ooh.
Especially comics, right? This had all and everything you needed to give it that epic feel. You feel like you're reading something that is just, grand and epic, and on a scale that, like I said, I wouldn't expect from DC Black Label. Thank you. 2019, 2021, right? So 12 issues, hell of a run. Hell of a run. Synopsis: The Last God tells the story of two fellowships of heroes struggling with the same threat 30 years apart. One group will doom their world, the other must save it. 30 years ago, a band of heroes traveled beyond the borders of creation and killed the last living god, saving the realm of Can and Nun from an apocalyptic army of the undead. The legendary companions became the rulers in their new world and ushered in a new era of peace and prosperity. Sorry, but it did
Hmm.
not last. Now the foul legions of the last god march once more, laying waste to all of Cal Anun and revealing that the aging fellowship may not be the great heroes they claim to be. So there are
Hmm.
layers upon layers upon layers upon layers to this story, Nicholas. Like I said, it is 12 issues. And I was thinking about how I sort of wanted to, like, what's the elevator pitch? How, like, what's the best way to really sort of describe this? And one of the things that first popped up into my head was, imagine taking The Hobbit, okay, and The Lord of the Rings and splicing it together like we got in The Godfather Part 2, right?
Hmm. Okay.
So, like, The Hobbit is Bilbo and Gandalf and the dwarfs, and they're marching, they're on their quest to, take, get, reclaim Erebor, and and take back their home, right? And you have all these sort of events that unfold with that, right? And that happens when Bilbo is a much younger hobbit. And then the Lord of the Rings comes, by, and now you've got this ring that, Sauron's coming back and they got to get rid of it, right? So it's like two different arcs, two different fellowships, two different groups, but it's one big story in the end, right? But you've got it from two different, points of view, and obviously two different eras. So, like, with The Godfather Part 2, right, you get current day Las Vegas, Michael Corleone, and flashback, to his dad, in his origin story, and the way that story just sort of bounces back and forth. Well, that's what you get here, right? And one of the things that this book does really
Hmm.
well is, whenever they do a flashback, there's two symbols, right? A hammer and an axe, and it'll always say 30 years present, or 30 years, in the future, 30 years in the past, sort of thing. So that's
Hmm.
how but the fellowship is essentially the same,
Hmm.
minus a character here and there, add a character here and there. But the core group, essentially the same. So you're getting this story, right, at two different points in time, but the ramifications, right, span that entire time. And so what you have is, in the past, you have a group of, of warriors and magicians and, different types of creatures who are trying to save their world from, the last god, who is just, it's sort of like Sauron, right? And, the orcs, and they're sort of, destroying everything. But these heroes aren't necessarily good people, Nicholas,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And this is where sort of you get Witcher vibes added to the story,
Ooh.
right? Where not all of the characters in The Witcher are good. They're not necessarily bad, right? They're selfish, they're flawed. Even Geralt, right? Who, by and large, he is your hero, right? He's a good guy. He's still flawed. He still
Hmm.
makes mistakes, right? You got a character like Siri who, right, like, you know, has these powers but doesn't know what they mean or necessarily how to use them. She doesn't know sort of what her place is in, this story. So you have characters like that, right?
Hmm.
In this, with the main character being a real slick backed hair piece of shit. And his name is Tyr, and he's known as the God Slayer because he's the one that that kills this god. And that's sort of how the first issue sort of starts, right? You start, and you get sort of like this, 30 years in the past where you're seeing this fellowship sort of, fight the last god, and you would get introduced to each character, and then it flashes forward, and there they are 30 years later sitting at, top of the kingdom. And as the story goes on, you learn more and more about, like, yeah, they may have killed the last god, but you either live long enough, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you make a deal with the devil, that shit's gonna come back,
Mm.
right? And that's what we get here, right? Like, because there's stories and myths have told of these heroes and how they slayed the last god, but the real story is much, much different. And when it comes time to pay the piper, right, all hell breaks loose. And so now we're on this fellowship to once again kill the last god, right, and
Mm.
to save the world. And so you're dealing with a lot of the same characters, but now much older, but you get a couple of new ones. And what I love about it is, like, oftentimes when I read a book that bounces back and forth a lot like this, can kind of annoy the hell out of me.
Hmm.
But Philip Kennedy Johnson just does a really great job at, like, staying with one storyline long enough so that when you do bounce, it doesn't feel,
Hmm.
frenetic, right?
Gotcha.
And this is just like, if you're a fantasy fan, this is a must read, because when you learn more about the different characters' motivations and what really happened, and start to peel back the layers, because you'll have a certain viewpoint of certain characters, and then as you go through it, as you get towards the end, it'll flip, right?
Mm.
There's some characters go, nope, they're a piece of shit, they stay a piece of shit, and oh boy, they're worse than a piece of shit, you
Hmm.
know, than I initially thought. And it is such a grand world that you're being pulled into. And I think Philip Kennedy Johnson's, it says book one of the Felspire Chronicles, and there is so much more. You could tell why DC hasn't gone farther with this, and I,
Hmm.
I hope they do. It's kind of baffling, because this is really something else. So, like, your main characters, I'm not going to dive too deep into these characters, because I want you to read it, and I want people to read this series and be introduced to these characters really for themselves. Form your own opinion on these characters, because when you learn about them and their story unfolds, it's like, well, what if Samwise really wasn't the good natured gardener he's portrayed to be? What if there's more there, right? What if
Hmm.
what if Gandalf has a more sinister path, right? Like, so there's these things that you learn, you find out these characters, and it is so good. But you've got Vico, who's the king of the ferrymen. They're sort of like magicians. You've got Skull, who's a sorcerer. She commands,
Skull.
right, the guild Eldrick, and her, like, she's another character. Like, I love these characters that are like, they're so embedded in the gray. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they want to, like, save the world, but, like, they'll get greasy when they need to, right?
Hmm.
And she's kind of a greasy character. I,
Hmm.
I loved her very much. And so there's a lot of meat on that bone. There's Joron, who is a Darwer. So it's sort of like your dwarf type character.
Okay.
He's a real spicy son of a gun. The character to me, that I think was the most intriguing, that you got mentioned a ton, but the least of, was Hakon the Shamed, and he's this ageless warrior. When you find out his
Oh.
story and everything that unfolds with him, it will absolutely blow your mind. Imol Ultep, who is the last god. He was the one that was defeated, but he sort of commands this sort of army known as the Plague of Flowers. You've got Tyr, who's the God Slayer. So he kills the god, that he's the one that becomes the king, but he really is kind of a piece of shit.
Hmm.
And then you have his queen, Cyanth, and she's a character whose motivations you don't really know at first, and as her story unfolds, you really start to relate to her. You really like, oh man, right? She has just really been through the ringer, and she to me she is, the main character, but they all play an extremely important part in the story. So I think, for those that are going to read it, you're going to read the collected edition, right? You're going to find the
Mhm.
hardcover, you're going to read it on Hoopla, wherever. And what I loved about it was that in between each issue, Philip Kennedy Johnson sort of gives you like, sort of like what Tolkien does with like the Lord of the Rings and the appendices. Like you read the book, and at the end, there's all these different things.
Hmm.
Same thing with the Hobbit, right? And there's so much world building in those appendices, character enrichment, world enrichment, songs and like just things that really like just give this world so much, and I absolutely love it. You don't need to read them, but it just adds to the experience because it is prose like, right? So but it's at the end of, each issue or in between the issues, so you can read them if you want. You don't have to. It's not gonna like, take you, you're not gonna miss anything. It just adds right to the world. And then the art, man, like this is, I was like, how do I describe, uh Riccardo Federici's art here, right? And when it comes to this book. And bear with me here, I get Die vibes. Now
Oh,
Ricardo's art style and Stephanie Hahn's style completely different, right? Like it's apples and oranges. Like Stephanie's art style is so stylized, it's so beautiful, right? And Ricardo's is, it's grittier. There's a rawness to it, right? Um, but it's similar in the sense that when you read Die, you are immersed in this world, right? Like Stephanie and Kieran have created this world. Like when you read Die, it feels epic. It looks epic. You're in this massive world, right? Well, that's what, Ricardo does here. You are immersed in this world. It is just pure grandeur, right? And so that's what I mean, sort of like the Die vibes. Like when you read
mm,
this, you're going to feel completely immersed, in this world. And you combine that with Philip Kennedy Johnson's writing, and you really have an absolute home run, of a fantasy story. The action is relentless. The emotional roller coaster you go on with these characters, like it does have that point A to point V mission fellowship story that I love, with these fantasy stories. So I can't wait to hear you, hear what you think about reading this book. I hope everyone that watches and listens to us right now, or in the, in the future, reads this book because if you're a comic book fan and if you're a fantasy fan, like shame on me for not having read this
hmm.
already. And I flew through it. I mean, I started Saturday, and here we are Tuesday. I had this thing read. I read issue 12 Monday night, but I had issues 1 through 11 read by Sunday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So absolutely excellent, Nicholas.
uh,
Absolutely excellent.
I'm totally sold on this. And honestly, your breakdown, I feel like really illustrates the what the world building is that we can experience in this series. Obviously, it's just the tip of the iceberg, but there's just so many like little details. You you're getting so there. We talk a lot about how stories are written and how the art comes through and everything like that, and how it impacts the story and whatnot. We always do that, and you did that here. But honest to God, you talk so much about like the characters and the story itself without spoiling things. And it's just like that doesn't happen all the time. And that's not a you thing, that's an us thing. So like when that happens, like there's just a little difference that just where it draws my attention. So I'm very impressed hearing all of this.
Yeah, it's cinematic. It really is. Like I completely envision this as a movie. It's got Tolkien vibes. It's got Witcher vibes, right? That's the kind of world, that you're in, right? It's not always, just black and white. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of selfishness. There's a lot of, heroism, right? There's a lot of betrayal, right? And it was just so well executed, Nicholas. Like I can't rave about it enough. And I
Nice.
guess I was stunned that it's DC Black Label because it doesn't feel like a DC Black Label book in the terms of like at this point, DC Black Label. I'm thinking Batman, Superman, Harley, right? I'm thinking strictly DC properties that are just told to a much more mature audience. I don't necessarily always equate DC Black Label, and I should because I know they have, but like this is sort of like Vertigo adjacent, right? This is
Yeah.
this could be an image book, right? This is like as indie of a book as you could get. And DC somehow said, "Yeah, we got it. We're gonna slap Black Label on it." And I far from me to tell someone how to do their job, but do your fucking job and let's get book 2 out.
Yeah, I think that I believe that some of these characters existed like in various like they're not like these are names that we're not crazy familiar with, but they existed in DC continuity in some capacity at some
Mm.
point. Um, but this is what DC Black Label should be all about. And I know we're getting Vertigo back, and Vertigo is kind of like DC Black Label, but just in different name, what have you, because obviously like Sandman was under that, and then Constantine was under that, and we've gotten other things like you just alluded to. But this is why like Vertigo should exist and should have its own thing and have the titles that we had before and then new titles that get welcomed in, so on and so forth. But DC Black Label should also still exist at the same time because this
Mm-hmm.
is like, you can take these other DC characters in like what we've seen with the Absolute Universe and just get these, but different, similar but different. Where that's like that's got its own continuity and its own focus, and we're going to keep getting that for however long Scott and the team wants to do that. Whereas with Black Label, it's like we can do these shorter stories if there's something that really takes off, like what Batman, the White Knight stories, like
Mm-hmm.
those can take off. Like if they're great, then you go with it. If not, they're shorter stories, and then we move on. In an ideal world, you have all of those moving pieces, but yeah, I don't know. It's disappointing because hearing you talk about it, it sounds like there's a lot more to be done with this story with Philip Kennedy Johnson. I did see a Dan Waters, I think it was a one shot, just kind of in looking things up as you were kind of going along, but I'm going to check this out 100%. Like this sounds too good.
It's on Hoopla, so I would recommend it.
Excellent. I will be moving on that. All right. The book that I'm talking about, just like Joe was trying to be as timely as possible with the book that he's discussing this week, I was able to pull it off because the book that I'm talking about is out in trade form this week. That is Assorted Crisis Events. This is an Image comic series written by Denise Camp with art by Eric Zawadski, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Hassan Utsman Alao. This was 5 issues, but we are getting the 6th issue in November. So this series is going to be continuing. But what's really interesting about this series, and
Would you say it's gone till November?
It's what?
It's gone till November? Come on.
I don't.
Wyclef Jean. Come on. It's a song.
What,
Gone till November. It's a song by Wyclef Jean. I was making it
by
a
who?
reference.
Wyclef
Jean.
I've never ever heard that those words in the same sentence.
Educate yourself, Nicholas. Educate yourself.
Okay. Anyways, if we have a listener that got that reference, please let us know. I would love to know. All right, but this is actually what's really interesting about this is it's a series of one shots, and I will get into that a little bit more. That is, I think, a very bold move. But again, I want to get to the synopsis first, and this kind of more so covers the first issue. I was trying to wrangle that in, whether it was the trade or whatever. But anyways, the synopsis: time is having a crisis. Mingling in the red light district, you can find actual cavemen, medieval knights, and cyborg soldiers on leave from World War IV. Victorian debutantes amble their way into cell phone stores, confused and bewildered. What is a data plan? On their way to work, bleary-eyed commuters get trapped in time loops, assaulted by alternate reality versions of themselves, and try to avoid post-apocalyptic wastelands. And look, the 315 bus just took a wrong turn into the Neolithic era. When I saw this synopsis, because this was like associated with the first issue, but still is there for the trade as well, I was like, this sounds like an amazing concept. What the hell is this going to turn into? I did not know it was going to be a series of one-shots. So when I read that second issue, I was like, oh, what's going on here? So it very much threw me off. And because of this too, like because it's a bunch of one-shots, we're, from a character standpoint, we always like to try and break down the different characters. This is more about the plot and the message of each story with every single issue, as opposed to a series of characters that you are invested in from issue 1 to issue 5. Although there is one character who you're going to see pop up with a level of frequency throughout this series, but at the same time, it's more like, what the fuck is this individual's deal, as opposed to them being a major part of the plot throughout the story. That said, there are plenty of characters who you get invested in from issue to issue, but it really is about the concept, the messages, the plot. And look, a series of one-shots, like, you and I like a good one-shot. Don't get me wrong. Like Batman and Deadpool, that is a one-shot. It's written, at least it's written in that way, where if you don't read the DC one, we don't know what we're going to get from the DC one necessarily. I don't know if it's going to be connected, something separate. Who the hell knows? That said, it's just like, that is still like, as much as miniseries are on the rise right now and have been like the bigger stuff as opposed to ongoings, I feel like when you're talking about one shots, there are so many times where Joe and I see one shots and it's like, if it's not characters we don't know, if it's not a creator we're not, or creative pair that we're not in love with, then we might not necessarily be checking that out, like, just because there's so many other things to be reading. So that's very bold. But Denise Camp has proven to be very bold. He's crushing it with the Ultimates. Martian Manhunter has been like one of the, I don't think polarizing is the right word, but obviously, like, there are a lot of people who love it, but then, like Joe, like it's very, like, it's a very different series. It's not necessarily for everybody. It is a bold swing. Nonetheless, this is even bolder. And to do this too without legacy characters, I'm just like, more power to you. They pulled it off though. It was so fucking good. Because like at the end of it all, there is a level to which that it has like a hotel sync kind of element to it, because it's a sort of crisis events. So like the title plays into everything, and it's a bunch of different types of crisis because something is going on with all of existence. The thing is that it's a much looser connection. There's really only this one individual who you see pop up a fuck ton. That is the connection. And they're like, sometimes they're there for a few pages. Sometimes you might see them pop up once. A few pages may even honestly be an incorrect overestimation on my part. But it's just like, that's the little bit that you're getting. I would love to see everything kind of brought together in the second arc, but I also be open to more one-shots, quite honestly. But as for Denise Camp's writing, pointed, like very much so. Like there was a clear message with each of these issues. And honestly, I think this is a great litmus test for people's level of compassion. Like if you handed this to somebody and said, just, and you can do it with any individual issue, but if they read it and it's like, this stinks. I don't get it. And they're a comics fan, and it's like, okay, like you're telling me something about yourself. I honestly believe that. So we got 5 individual stories over 5 issues. If I was to rank, I know we don't do this a lot, but I was to rank each individual issue of the sort of crisis events, I would say issue number 3, then number 4, then number 5, then number 1, and then number 2. I do think that 3, 4, 5 are in their own tier. Then you have issue number 1, which is just below it. And then issue 2 was probably my least favorite. But at the same time, issue number 2, I wasn't ready for it. I didn't realize it was a series of one-shots at that point. I wasn't, just from like a mental standpoint, I wasn't adequately prepared for what was going into that issue. Issue 1, where it's kind of, and I'm going to talk about these each individually a little bit. I do think that was the perfect first issue compared to all the other ones, because it's a commentary on media in society right now, where we're talking about like social media, movies and shows, and so on. And where it's just like, it's invading everything. You cannot go anywhere without TV being like in your face, without movies being in your face. Social media kind of bring it all together as well. And just everybody's doing everything, and it's nonstop. And we always have a camera in front of us in some capacity, or our phone in front of us. it's all about that in a very chaotic, but also still kind of controlled way. And I think that's a really nice way to start things off. Second issue, we move into a slaughterhouse. I'm actually going to read the synopsis for this individual issue. Slaughterhouse 9 to 5. What stalks the blood-soaked killed floor? A dizzying, heartbreaking, hallucinogenic trip through the endless slaughterhouse. Witness a man's life cut up, ground up, and packaged for easy consumption. And this is kind of like this is an emotional story. Again, like I still think it's good. It's just for me, 3, 4, and 5 are just head and shoulders above, and 1 is like rock solid, like still like probably like an A minus, where the other ones are A. Issue 3, I remember talking about this on the show, and I still think about this issue quite a bit. I feel weird calling it my favorite because it hits so hard, but I really do think about this story a lot. And the whole point of this is like you have like instead of Earth 1, they call it Hearth 1 and Hearth 2. And like something happens on one of the hearths, and then they find a way to like where one hearth is getting destroyed, all the people are able to migrate over to the other hearth. And then it's like, what happens when you have like an alternate version of yourself that's like basically the closest version of you to you that you could possibly have? What happens when you like have to take them all in, and then you're starting to deal with overpopulation? And like the social commentary is very clear, but it makes it so much more powerful because it's like you have you versus you, in like maybe a slight friggin' difference, like not a noticeable difference at all. And it was just very, very powerful. Issue 4 is going to hit you, Joe, and many guys like a ton of bricks, because there's a level of commentary on men repeating the sins of their fathers. And then more importantly, I think this is one that hits for you and me. There's a commentary on people not being very present. I think it's important. Like I stress trying to be present, but it's so easy for us when we're go, 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 trying to do so much. This character isn't necessarily go, 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 but he's just very bad at being present. And the way you see his life transpire in front of us is just like, I mean, and it's in the synopsis too, but I don't need to go and break that down necessarily. Issue 5 is the most impressive display from an artistic standpoint. You get some fun Easter eggs in this issue as well. That said, I don't know if I can say this is the heaviest issue yet, because a lot of these are all heavy in some way, shape, or form, but maybe the darkest in some ways. It's you're dealing with some tough stuff. I mean, you have this one girl who like witnesses this, like who gets like stuck, who gets paralyzed for like 60 seconds, but she lives like in a million lifetimes in those 60 seconds somehow. And the way you kind of you go through that throughout the issue, the way Eric Zawadzki's art like tells that story is remarkable. And this is the issue where I talked about there's a specific image where it's like, I don't know how a human being was able to conceptualize this and put this together in such an effective, impressive way. I'm very excited for you to read that issue because of that one art page. So like when you ever do that, Joe, let me know what page you think I'm talking about with issue 5, because it's really, really impressive. But I stand by issue 4 is the one I think that will hit you the hardest. I'm very curious, like when you're done reading this, how you would rank each individual issue. So like when you read it, if you don't mention it, I'm definitely gonna ask you about that. Furthermore, on Eric Zawadzki too, like just so much range throughout this series. The use of color throughout all this. Of course, Jordi Belair, one of the best colorists in the game, with no two ways about it. But with Zawadzki too, what's so impressive is there's a lot of movement that's created in this series, but there's also this uneasiness for all of these issues. And it's not necessarily done in a horror fashion, because none of these are horror issues. I mean, yeah, like there's some horrific stuff that we're dealing with, but it's just like dread is probably a better way to describe it. But it's very palpable. And you have bright colors in a couple of these issues too, where it's just like, it's remarkable how we're able to have that kind of combination where there's so many bright colors in a few of these issues. But that all like very much elevates the series in like to have it all happening in the same universe too. It all fits so very well. So this is an experience unlike any other you're getting in comics right now. Obviously, we've talked about like similar series where it's like an anthology. Like obviously, the biggest example is Sync and Hotel, both of course written by a friend of the show, John Lees. That is probably the closest comp that I can give to you for Assorted Crisis events, but those are both horror. They are very much centered around a specific location, whereas this is centered around like a development that's at play. But even then, it's like it's so much looser than Hotel in Sync. But I think for just readers trying to get wrap their head around things, that's the easiest way to think about it. But it's an experience, and I'm very excited for you to check this one out, Joe. It's going to be. This is one that it's really well written, and it's well paced. Some issues read faster than others. I don't think this is something. I'll be surprised if you come back and tell me I read this all in one sitting, just because it's a lot. That's all. It's very heavy.
Gotcha. Yeah, it makes sense. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. That sounds excellent.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you pushed me to talk about it because I was obviously talking about it on the show a ton, but I was like I don't know. Like obviously we've done Hotel, we've talked about Sync at nauseum, but it's like I don't know that there was a little bit more of a connective tissue with those. But with like you were like, well, like this is different. Like this is, and I love the series, so I appreciate you pushing me to like, let's do it. Let's talk about it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Once again, carrying the show. I do what I can.
Yes.
You know.
Is your back hurting?
Always. I'm old.
I know a good chiropractor. You should go see him.
Yeah, not that good.
All right. That is going to do it for us this week. So a quick reminder for everybody in case you missed it off the top of the show.
Keep reading, baby.
No, Joe, not yet. Keep reading. Reminder, know what's new for the next couple weeks. We will have a Fireside Chat dropping on each of the following Mondays. Follow us on our socials because I will still be putting out individual reviews there. And now enjoy New Mexico, Joe. And come on, dude.
I already said it.
You're the worst. Bye, everybody.